Think Realty Nation, it's Abhi Golhar. Welcome to the Think Realty podcast. There's a lot we're going to talk about today, and I'm excited. It's one thing I love talking about, syndicating deals for multifamily. I have Bruce Petersen, who's joining us, and there's a very specific, I feel, art to this, and there's also an art to scaling a business. It's something that I enjoy talking about a lot. You want to build a business and not necessarily build a job for yourself. And Bruce understands this. He has a tremendous amount of experience in this specific world, and I cannot wait to pick his brain. And then, after we finish the conversation with him, we'll be talking about some of the 10 fundamental beginning terms and things, the stuff. It's a very technical term, stuff that real estate investors need to know. Some of the fundamentals that real estate investors need to know. And we'll see if we can kind of weave in there maybe a couple of things for pro real estate investors as well. This podcast is brought to you by Norada Real Estate Investments, your premier source for cash flow investment property. Visit www.turnkeyrealestateinvestments.com. Again, www.turnkeyrealestateinvestments.com. Let's go ahead and bring my friend Bruce on the show. Bruce, welcome, man. How are you doing?
Great, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. Give us a little background, who you are, what you do.
So I'm a real estate syndicator, syndicate large apartments, 100 to 300 units at a pop. I've been doing it since I started my education in 2011, bought my first deal in 2012. My background, though, before that, I was in retail. I actually ran big box retail stores for, a lot of the big guys. I did that for 18 years. At burnout, had to go find something else to do in my life. So I kind of semi or quasi retired at 43. And then started poking around real estate and got rolling. So I've done a total of 6 deals covering a little over 1,100 units since then.
Nice. Well done. Congratulations on your success. Right off the top, what are some pointers that syndicators need to know? Because it seems like if you've done a couple of flips, that everybody wants to be a syndicator today. And no offense to the industry, I think syndicators are great. But it's like there's a difference between your noob syndicator and somebody that's taking this seriously. You're obviously taking this seriously. You have a good amount of experience, 1,100 units. Off the cuff, initial tips.
So yeah, treat it like a business. That doesn't mean you have to work out at 60, 80 hours a week, anything like that. Because like you said, I didn't really want to buy myself a job. I had already quit working for somebody else. So I just didn't want to buy a job. The biggest thing, though, just go into it with your eyes wide open, get as educated as you can. Understand that when you're investing in real estate, specifically my thing is syndicating large apartments. You have to treat it like a business. It really is. I think people fall into the mindset trap that, this is real estate. Nothing can go wrong in real estate because most people getting involved now have only been involved since the recovery started. They haven't seen a down market. So everybody thinks that, real estate's perfect. You can't lose money. You're going to double your money tomorrow. And it's just not true. It's like any business. Things can and will go wrong, whether you self-manage or you third-party manage and have somebody else handle that for you. Things are going to go wrong. But get yourself as educated as you can. Understand it is a true business. Make sure those investors that are going to entrust their money with you, that they understand as well that this is a business. Long-term trajectory, we will probably go up, right? That's the plan. But month to month, quarter to quarter, year to year, sometimes with major storms, you might have a hiccup here and there. Right now we're fighting taxes in Texas. Central Texas, I have a deal that I've had. We're coming into our 4th year of ownership. And even that 4th year, my taxes spiked 26%. That's huge. Exactly. You don't project that.
Right.
Well,
so what's the dollar amount? What's the dollar amount of that spike? You went from what to what?
Off the top of my head, excuse me, I think it was like 350,000 to 475,000.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Right. It's huge. So actually, I think I do have that math a little wrong. It was 26%. The dollars were rough dollars.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, you just got to be careful what you're doing. Don't be aggressive in your underwriting. Don't think this is a great deal. I have to make the numbers work by, manipulating things. Don't do that. Because even if you underwrite it properly, you're still going to have things pop up. So why set yourself up for failure at the beginning? So again, be conservative, get yourself educated, and treat it like a business.
What are some areas that you're finding a lot of success in? Are you looking at secondary markets to buy syndicate deals in? Are you looking at more tertiary markets, primary markets, depending on the deal, depending on which primary market? What's kind of working for you and what's not working for you?
Well, I'm different than most people. I only buy in my own backyard. That's it. I have never bought anything out of Austin or San Antonio because I've been able to source deals in this market. So I haven't had to go, look over the nation for things. But both of these MSAs are 2.5 million plus. So yeah, I've only been in large markets. I'm not opposed to going into some of the secondary and tertiary markets, but it's just not what I've done so far. Again, I can still get returns that my investors are expecting. So I haven't had the need to leave.
What does that look like for you? Like when you're looking at a deal, what's like a good kind of cookie cutter deal that you would say, you know what, if this came across my desk and if it actually checked out, then I would start with an LOI and I would kick the can down the road a little bit. What does that deal have to look like?
So basically, I just have to be plugged into my investor base, know what they're looking for, because the investors usually are kind of slower to understand what's going on in the market. So they get used to 10, 15, 20% cash on cash returns early on, back in 2011, 12, and 13.
Right.
Well, now we're seeing 6 and 8% returns, which is still better than just about anything else you can do, especially when you factor in the tax advantages. But I'm listening to them. What do they need to feel comfortable putting their money in? So what we're sourcing right now is usually 6 to 7% cash on cash returns by the end of the first year. I'm looking at an equity multiple of about 1.8 to 2.0 over a 5-year modeled hold period. IRRs are usually between 11 and 13. Sometimes we can get up to 14%. Not the numbers that we were seeing a few years ago, but they're still good numbers. Right. And again, so I just need to know what the investor's expectation is before I go out and find deals. But those are the kinds of deals that are working for us right now.
When you talk about kind of scaling this a little bit, multifamily, sometimes for a lot of folks, it's a little terrifying to scale, right? Because you've got a lot of units, you have a lot of working parts, you have outsourced property management or in-house property management, brokers, sellers, buyers, all the stuff just going on. What do you use to build a workflow, to build a system so that ultimately you're building a business here and you're not just building a job, and you also have the opportunity to scale with the right investors?
Well, it's hiring people. That's the biggest thing. Let go. You have to let go of control. I think Gary Vaynerchuk said one time that 82% of me is still better than me, right? Because if I can find somebody that can only do 60% of the quality of work that I would have done, as long as 60% is still manageable or still appropriate, I've got 100% of me. Now I've got somebody doing 60% of me. So now I've got 160% instead of my 100%. So, just hire smart people, empower those smart people, and get out of their way. But you also you have to be able to hold them accountable, of course. You want to have KPIs. So you want to have ways to track what they're doing in a way to keep track on the business. I'm going to walk properties usually once or twice a month, each property. But I've also got all kinds of metrics that I can look at on my P&Ls to know that, okay, yeah, maybe we've got some issues going on here. So we'll check into that. But again, the biggest thing to scale for me is very holistic, very macro, but it's hire people. Don't try to do it yourself. You just can't do it all.
How do you develop the right culture and empower the right people? Like, what's the successful formula for that? Because like you said, it's one thing to hire somebody, but if that person is good, then it can be 160% of you. And I feel in order for that person to feel loved and to feel good, especially in a scaling of any business, they need the right opportunity, they need the right culture fit, and then of course they need the right kind of help, training process, et cetera. How do you do that in your business?
So, the training part, for the most part, we always hire experienced people. So they come actually to the company knowing, the basics of how to do the job. But I've got to try to instill upon them, and hopefully they already come to me with it. I want that character. I'm trying to hire for character. I can teach you what you don't know as long as you have you have a good mindset, you have a good work ethic, your character is good. The word that we use around here is empathy. We use a lot of empathy. That I want them to put themselves into the tenant's shoes. Again, I self-manage, so it's a little different than most of your audience probably. But I want them to try to make a decision for that resident based on what they would have expected had it happened to them, whether their AC go out or, whatever happens to their unit. Try to, think through their eyes. Don't take things personal. I tell them all the time also that, look, a process is a process as long as it's right. Do what the book says to do in this situation until it's not the right thing to do for a human being. Once that happens, you have the authority to make these decisions. Do what's right, be able to speak to why you did what you did. If I wouldn't have done what you did, we'll talk about it. We'll discuss why I would have done it differently, what we can do in the future, but they're allowed to make those mistakes. Right. As long as those mistakes aren't going to put us out of business or get me sued or have somebody dead, that's the big stuff. Give them authority, autonomy, make sure they feel that they are part of it. I tell them all the time, when something comes from me, right? I work as the asset manager in my company. If I make a decision, a business decision, I'm always going to tell what the regional managers why I've done it, the rationale. It's a test. If it doesn't work, we will stop doing it. But then they need to carry that down the line as well. Don't just tell them do this. Tell them why we're doing it. Give them real reasons, tangible reasons that maybe even affect them. So have them be part of it. Have them feel part of it, and that helps a lot.
I'm with you. What tools, software tools, are you using to help scale your business and maybe communicate with partners, employees, contractors, management? Is there any one tool? Is there one tool, or is it maybe a set of a few that kind of interacts back and forth? Maybe Slack or Podio or Basecamp. Do you have any ones that you like versus?
Well, I can run almost everything through my property management software. We use Resmond, and it handles most of it. But then we step out of the management side of it and just go into the syndication side of it. We use a CRM. We use ActiveCampaign, ActiveHost. Yeah. We use that. I use a lot of Calendly. I try to automate as much as I can in my world because, lots of interactions. I can only get to so many people one-on-one initially. So I try to funnel that down, whittle that down. But also we have an investor portal that honestly we just kicked off. We've always done it manually ourselves, but now we've got hundreds and hundreds of investors. Each quarter we're cutting hundreds and hundreds of checks to send out to people. So we've brought in a company to set up a portal for us that all of our investors' information is there. That's where they get all their monthly updates. That's where they get their K-1s at the end of the year. The tax return stuff is what I'm talking about there for those that don't know. So those are the three big things that we use. Because again, most of the other stuff we can do through Resmond. Now, the only other thing maybe would be like a Google Keep, but we don't do a whole lot of Slack and all of that. I think it's Asana or something like. We don't do it.
Yeah. I never really thought that in the multifamily space you needed like Asana. I feel like Slack could be helpful, depending on what you're trying to do and maybe push forward a little bit. But yeah, I mean, there's a investor kind of CRM as well. It's called Jupiter. So that's another really good one as well.
We use InvestNext, which is a competitor of Jupiter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's perfect. So cool. I mean, I got one last question for you, and then we've got to finish up, and then I've got to head to my next segment here. But the one gold nugget that you have for syndicators, for new syndicators, on how not to screw up.
How not to screw up. Don't take the easy way out. Do things the right way. A lot of what's going on right now, people are being taught to syndicate by bringing 14 people. These are exaggerations, but bring 14 people into their general partnership, and everybody raise $3 a piece and pull all that money together. Now we can go out and do a deal. Well, all right, look, there's nothing wrong with that if you do it legally in the right way. There's a lot of people doing it the wrong way, and they're going to get themselves in trouble. I suggest raising all of your own money. Now, that's not easy. It's not easy at all, and it takes a long time. We've got a database. Many people have much larger databases than this, but we have about 1,200 people in our database. Well, it's taken me 7-8 years to cultivate that. but I raise all my own money. I don't bring anybody from outside to help me raise that money. What are they saying out there on my behalf? I don't know. Do they really, really know me, share my values? Unlikely. So, that's the biggest thing for me. Be willing to put in the legwork, go to all the meetups, go to all the expos and the conferences, go out and meet as many people as you can. And I'm not saying be a control freak and you got to control it all. No, like I said, I want to hire people. I want to put people around me. But at the same time, there are some key things that I believe firmly that it's just better if you do it yourself. It's just going to take longer. That's all.
I'm with you. Bruce, thanks so much for your insights. It was super, super helpful, especially as a new syndicator, what to do right, what to do wrong, and of course, what to consider as you scale a business, because it's definitely one thing to scale. It's another thing to stay stagnant and not scale. And I feel like there are a lot of folks that want to be in the former category. So thanks so much. I certainly appreciate it. What's the best way to get in touch with you? I got an email address, phone number, website?
Website, apt-guy, GUY.com. Instagram would be apt.guy. Those are the two best ways to get a hold of me.
Awesome. Bruce, thanks again. I appreciate the insights.
All right. Thanks, man.
You got it. Think Realty Nation. This next segment is brought to you by Real Property Management, which is the largest residential property management franchise in North America, managing tens of thousands of properties for individuals, investors, and institutions throughout the country. Learn more at realpropertymgt.com or call 888-806-7088. All right, there are 10 fundamental fundamentals that beginning real estate investors, new real estate investors should know. And this is a Forbes article, kind of interesting. Let's see. Let's put these to the test here. Number one, the cup is always half full. Quote, new real estate investors are very nervous on the first deal and start to panic at every obstacle. I don't know. I don't know how much of that is actually true. I don't really see a whole lot of panic. Like, I would see a panic if, like, people are making the wrong buying decisions, you know what I mean? But I don't necessarily see a whole lot of investors like, oh crap, something bad is gonna happen. So, I don't know, maybe not that one. Number two, the value is in the experience. Quote, your first flip isn't all about the profits. Many first-time investors know you won't necessarily make a killing off your property, so it's key to keep in mind there's also value in the time spent in managing the acquisitions and renovations. Yes, but I also think that money, like a good result on your first deal, is a good thing. Number three, setting aside working capital is key. Totally agree with this. If you don't have enough working capital set aside for your deal in the case something bad happens, you're definitely going to shoot yourself in the foot. Number four, discipline will help you stay on budget. I would say, like, just knowing how to budget will keep you on budget. Like, that's what is... All right, so number five. Return calculations can be misleading, especially in the multifamily space. And we're seeing this a lot, right? Like, you can make a financial statement on a bad property look amazing. So you have to rework all the numbers for you. Number six, you won't get far without mentors and partners. I actually agree with this one. You need the right people on your team, and you need folks that have been there, that have done that, that have taken the licks, that have gone through the market cycles, and they remember what it was like in 2007, 8, and 9, when there weren't a whole lot of, it was slim pickings for inventory and for deals and property, right? That's a big, big thing. So partnering with folks that have been there and understanding how to move and groove and shift when these times potentially could come again. I don't think we'll see anything like 2008, but just as a hypothesis, could be a good thing for you to partner with somebody that actually gets it. Think Realty Nation, that's the show, that's the wrap. You have questions for us, get in touch, go to thinkrealty.com. This podcast was brought to you by Narada Real Estate Investments, your premier source for cash flow investment property. Check them out. Visit www.turnkeyrealestateinvestments.com. Until next time, happy investing.